Hey everyone, welcome to Brilliant But Lazy Victims and Villains Pop Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Alan.
And I'm Josh, and we have a special guest with us today.
Yes, joining us from You Have to Watch This podcast is my co-host over there, Devon Struthers. Devon, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I am so pumped for this.
Yeah, you had mentioned on You Have to Watch This that you were going to see today's main topic as well. So I was like, oh, well, misery loves company. So let's get into it.
Spoilers.
Shy about how we feel about this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the only reason I went to see it was for this podcast. So I wanted Devon to also have a reason, an excuse. When people ask, "Why did you do this?"
I can then give a reason.
Yes.
People ask me why I was seeing it, and I said because Devin's seeing it, and I don't want to leave him out in the cold.
Okay.
So
that's all I ask.
So yeah, really, the reason Devon's here
Yeah.
is so we can blame this on him.
yeah, that's right.
I'll only be here for the worst movies. It's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, before we get into today's main topic, which is the latest Sony Marvel film, Madam Web, we're going to talk about some other Marvel things that have happened because we are the Marvel-centric podcast here for Victims and Villains. And there's been some Marvel news lately. Starting off, like I've gotten to talk to Devon about most of this stuff, but I haven't gotten to talk to Josh about this. The Deadpool and Wolverine trailer dropped over the Super Bowl. Josh, what were your thoughts on the trailer?
Yeah, well, and they didn't make you wait for it. Like, I was at my uncle's bar to watch the game, and my cousin Thomas was there, and he was like, "Did you hear they're dropping the Deadpool trailer during the Super Bowl?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd heard that." He's like, "I'm just sticking around here for that." And then, like, literally, like a minute into the Super Bowl, they played it, and then like a minute later. We were tempted to go out in the parking lot and watch the whole thing on YouTube because they didn't show the whole thing. But it was a great trailer. I was surprised, happily surprised, pleasantly surprised that it started off with the TVA. That makes sense with everything that happened at the end of Deadpool 2. But at first, their uniforms are slightly different. But I was like, is that them? And then as soon as it was confirmed, I'm like, all right, I'm here for this. Let's go. It was just enough to tease me, but I'm ready.
I was pleasantly surprised that the TVA was bought out by Royco. So, but yeah, I'm excited for this movie. The trailer was great. They gave us just enough Wolverine for me. Like we don't have to see him in the suit yet. Like we've seen the pictures that have gone online. I don't need to see him in the trailer and advertising yet. Devon, what did you think of the Deadpool Wolverine trailer?
I feel like so we did Deadpool 2 on the podcast, and I feel like I'm one of the few people that like loved Deadpool 2 more than the first one. I understand that like the shtick might be getting a little bit old, but I still love it. So like even in the second, like the first like thing that he says to camera where he's like, "Oh, trust me, I'm not new to pegging, but Disney is." I lost it. Like I actually laughed out loud at that part. I am so pumped for this movie. Like I can't wait. In the trailer has only gotten me more excited because the on set like photos have me excited, and this kind of put my fears I think at ease that like Disney would ruin this or it would be like a little bit Disneyfied, and it almost doesn't feel like it because I think I was scoping the trailer out for like, are they going to make this different and worse?
Yeah. For this being the only Marvel film that we're getting this year, I think they put all their eggs in the right basket. So
This is the only one?
Film wise, yes.
Oh,
From the MCU. Sony's got plans.
From the Sonyverse, yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, Sony's got more plans?
Oh, we'll talk about it. We'll talk.
Sony better not.
We'll
no.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Starts with a K. Anyway, I liked what we saw. I've been pissed anytime one of my like movie pages on Facebook has posted those tons of leaked pictures from the set.
Yeah.
I get more and more annoyed. I'm like, come on, nobody here doesn't want to see this movie. Stop like just, blowing up these pages with all these pictures. You're going to ruin it for yourself as much as for everyone else. And I'm sure they were like, look, the secret's out that the Century Fox logo is a part of one of our sets. So they kept that in the trailer. when they probably could have, done some Spider-Man No Way Home stuff and digitally removed it, but
Mm.
for the trailer. But they kept that in there. Um, they didn't show us Logan's face, but between all of the, the teaser videos that he did with Hugh Jackman and the leaked photos, we know he's there. But we got the Wolverine air tips,
Yeah.
and we got the back of his uniform, and so that was enough. They didn't spoil like the rumorville has been how many cameos are going to be a part of this and how many potential Ox superheroes are going to be in this. I'm so excited, but we got one, which was Pyro,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
at first when I saw him, I was like, "Wait, is that Daniel Radcliffe as like a different version of Wolverine, just like with some facial makeup?" And then I rewound it, and no, it's Pyro from X-Men 2 and 3, and that was kind of cool seeing
Well,
him.
it's funny that you bring up Daniel Radcliffe, because there is a shot of Logan playing poker in like the white jacket from behind, and I'm
Yeah,
fully expecting that not to be Hugh Jackman. Like that might be the Daniel Radcliffe version of Wolverine.
could be, could be.
But
That would be fun.
I'm excited because what this movie gives me the excuse to do is now go back and watch all of the X-Men films from Fox, all of the fantastic, like I'm going to watch everything Fox Marvel has done, whether it's for this podcast or not. I'm going to watch them all, revisit them, because I haven't seen some of them in like 10 years since Days of Futures Past came out. So
You got to give me a heads up on those because my recollection of the X-Men movies were that I really loved them at the time,
mhm.
but like there's something I have in me that tells me they're not going to hold up well. And I don't know if that's me like being like weird about my like childhood favorite movies or if they just
Mm.
wouldn't. Like you'll have to tell me how that goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, uh, they did themselves a favor with X3. They went and hired the same director and or the same writer to direct the Dark Phoenix movie and basically retell the story in a worse way. So now X3 is more watchable than it
Yeah.
used to be. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's fair. All right.
Mhm.
I will not be including Dark Phoenix in my rewatch.
Not with that attitude.
I have standards. Um, I saw every
What
X-Men
is
movie in theaters except for Dark Phoenix, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, well, you weren't missing much. I know we could talk about this all day, but if
Yeah.
you could give your quick one wish that you would have for this movie, with all the rumors that are out there, who knows if they're true? Like, one of the rumors that I'm super hoping is true is that this is like a take on Deadpool kills the Marvel universe, but it's Deadpool kills the Fox Marvel universe. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see like uh, Ben Affleck's Daredevil, make an appearance and stuff like that because I love the director's cut of Daredevil with Affleck. So that's my hope. But what are one or two of your hopes for this movie?
I also want the Dung King himself, Ben Affleck, to show up in this. Other than that, um, it, I know it's hard to do, but they can do it better than they did in The Flash with Christopher Reeve. But give me Michael Clark Duncan's Kingpin, like at least allude to him somehow. The late great Michael Clark Duncan, because he was a good Kingpin. Like I love D'Onofrio now,
What?
but just paying respect to him somehow, whether it's with the deleted footage, not a CG version, like a little bit of a tribute to him would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
I now want that version. Like I don't know any of the rumors about this movie. I don't, and I wish I stayed more informed. I want Deadpool kills the Fox Marvel universe real bad. I think what I want even more though is I want Deadpool kills the Sony Marvel universe. Like get like 2 seconds of like Venom going Buddy! And then like Deadpool shooting him in the head. Great. That's what I want now.
Yeah. Well, unlike the Fox Marvel universe, Sony's universe is somehow still alive.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, we'll get into that here shortly. While we're on the topic of X-Men, another trailer dropped over the last few weeks, and that's that's not the order. The X-Men 97 trailer dropped for the Disney Plus reboot continuation of the X-Men animated series from the 90s. I wasn't big on the X-Men animated series growing up. I have rewatched it since then. But I'm going to rewatch it before this. What was your guys' connection to the X-Men animated series?
You go ahead first, Josh.
It always felt edgier to me than anything else that was on the Saturday morning cartoon. Down to even the release of the first couple episodes on these all black VHS tapes with these little red accents on the cover that just made it look like this was a level up from the other stuff that was out there. I always thought the what I think it was the Night of the Sentinels was the title of like the first one or two episodes, and that arc to kick that show off was just amazing. I loved it, and I always felt like I was watching elevated content when I was watching some of those episodes. I really did, and it was just a significant part of my Saturday morning lineup between that and the Spider-Man animated series, which I hope gets a similar treatment because there's still so much that they could tell with that, especially how it ended. And then you go over to DC and you had Batman, the animated series. That was peak Saturday morning entertainment for me. But I always really loved X-Men. I read Batman comics. I read Spider-Man comics. I didn't start reading X-Men comics until that show, and then not too long after that, they released X-Men. What is it? X-Men. Is it Unlimited? Where is it at?
I know what you mean.
X-Men.
Where they did the ultimate reboot for Spider-Man 2 along with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They did an ultimate cut of a lot of different stuff, and Spider-Man was a big one, but the X-Men one I thought was the comic version of the show, and it was edgy, and I love the art, and I still have every one of the issues, and I have the graphic novels bound behind me. But it was all originated from the love for this series. So I've met the creators of this series in person, the writers and the showrunners, and they're great. The main showrunners is this cute little old couple that goes to small Comic-Cons with X-Men letter jackets, and
Nice.
they're just great. So I'm so stoked, man. I can't tell you how stoked I am for this.
You just unlocked something because I forgot about the Ultimate X-Men and how ridiculously into it I was. So like you, I'd been reading Spider-Man forever. I had been reading a couple other comics. I think I had like Sonic comic subscriptions as well forever. But like I got into X-Men because of this TV show. I had like all of the action figures. Gambit, Witten, and Cyclops were my favorites. Still remain favorites to this day. And started up the comics with Ultimate X-Men because like you, this felt like that TV show, but in comic book form, and I loved it. So, like, I mean, you mentioned X-Men 97 briefly before the show happened. The theme song's been running on loop in my head, and will until I listen to it after the show to finally get it out of my head. But I have weirdly deep connections to this that I didn't realize until I had seen the trailer for this a couple days ago.
I'm really hoping I didn't watch the show when it was on, but I watched like the Spider-Man animated series was my jam. Like that was the one it was that and Batman. So like I know the X-Men from that crossover episode they did. So here's hoping. You never know. Spider-Man might show up in this because from the newspaper in this, it looks like those characters are still on Earth and not in whatever unlimited Spider-Man territory they were.
Yeah, they need
in
to
that sequel
retcon
series.
That.
They retconned that a little bit already, so that's a good sign. But yeah, I'm excited for this. People are already picking apart the animation style and some changes that they've made to certain characters already. But it's Disney Plus. You can't have Rogue looking that thick. I'm sorry, it's not the 90s anymore.
Okay. Also, I feel like I know exactly the memes you're talking about. Devil's
Some of these
advocate.
memes.
Devil's advocate. I'm sure if you watched all the episodes of the original series, she wasn't always that thick. Like I'm
No.
sure there was certain frames that focused on it, and
Yeah.
we still live in an age where they made The Incredibles, and so I'm sure I'm sure
Girl.
there's still room for certain things to be in this show. They're just probably. I mean, imagine if that was what they focused on in the first teaser. That would be a little on the nose. So
That's
don't
fair.
give up
That's
hope.
fair.
They, yeah. Yeah. Uh, I'm excited for this. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the X-Men animated series because I feel like when I watched it when they put it on Disney Plus, they had the episodes out of order or something. Because I feel like I missed chunks. Like I don't
Really?
remember the finale, like being what it is that they're setting up in this trailer. So I'm gonna have to go back and revisit a bunch of this. So
No, so hold on. This was the one thing that I remembered because I did try to watch it again when it was on back on Disney Plus. Is it really, really fast paced? Like
yes,
I remember watching something and it was moving by so fast it almost felt like a clip show. And I couldn't tell if I
Oh,
was like watching like them catching you up to where it should be or as I was watching the show. Am I remembering that right? Or are most of the episodes pretty well paced?
I
I
thought they
think
were well paced, but
Yeah,
it's been a while. I feel like I need a rewatch as well.
I'm going
yeah,
Yeah.
to. Yeah, I got it now.
yeah.
I can't
Uh,
believe this is coming out in March. Like I was under the impression this was coming out maybe August time frame. So I'm excited that it's
I
right around the corner.
I think it was supposed to come out August last year because the toys
Oh,
have been
okay.
out since last summer. Like you go to the toy aisle at Target, they have all of the X-Men figures from this show.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So a lot of the new character designs were revealed that way. Um, because with the thing that doesn't change when you move movie release dates around is the toy release schedule because Spider-Verse into Across the Spider-Verse had the same issue. Like all those Spider-Man toys were out months in
Yeah.
advance of the movie because it got pushed back. This fell into
Yeah.
that same pattern where the toys were out but the movie wasn't or the show wasn't. So
Does it ever spoil
Well,
anything?
occasionally it does.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the toys are so bombastic that they don't. Like there's things, that they release in toy form that's never actually in the show, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel like
sometimes it does.
I feel like the build a figure for the Spider-Man ones Across the Spider-Verse built like one of the Spider-Man variants that weren't in any of the trailers. But it wasn't like a major one, it's just like one in the background like the giant Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm
Either
excited.
way, I'm excited. I hope
Yeah.
I'm not hoping for anything like huge from this show. I just want it to be decent, like I don't know if it's going to be episodic or if it's going to be a longer story or not, but I just want it. I just want it to be watchable. Like I feel like
Yeah.
you've got all the ingredients. You don't need to make too many changes. I get you got to the animation style and stuff like that, and I'm sure there's gonna be some elements. I just hope it's not something that is so easy to pick apart. Like if they make slight changes because we're in 2024 now instead of the 90s. I understand some of those things, but I feel like it was progressive for its time, and like you don't really need to mess with stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm very cautiously optimistic right now for sure.
Me too. I'm probably going to start watching the original series again tonight because why not?
Yeah,
Cool.
sounds
So,
like a good time to me. I'm
yeah.
gonna do the same. Yeah.
Um, last thing news wise before we dive into Madam Web, um, the Fantastic Four has been announced. We have
Officially.
our
Gonna be
first family officially announced by Marvel on Valentine's Day in a Valentine's card. We have Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm. I'm blanking. Ebon Moss-Bacharach as Ben Grimm, the Thing, and then Joseph Quinn as Human Torch, Johnny Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, what do you think of this cast? How do you feel about Pedro Pascal becoming Mr. Fantastic?
So, I just got done rewatching. what am I trying to say? Rewatching The Last of Us. My mom wanted to see it because she likes Pedro Pascal, and he's excellent in that. He's excellent in The Mandalorian. He's excellent in whatever he does. However, um, uh, I I'm not gonna lie. The oversaturation argument is in my head, and I mean, what are you gonna do when you're a popular actor? You're an actor. You're gonna act, right? So it's not like studios are gonna be like, oh, he's so popular, we're not gonna cast him. But I just wonder how he's gonna be because he has built up this swagger to him, this certain type of what you expect from his characters, whether that's the solemn kind of grizzled dude who is the protector, or he's the he's the wild guy that has Nicolas Cage over to his house, or he's the dude taking over the U.S. and Wonder Woman. I'm trying to think of a role he would do similar to the Mr. Fantastic that I think of. Like, I still think of the one who's a little unsure of himself. He's so smart, but he kind of lacks some social cues or stuff like that. I wonder how he's going to play Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. But I really like Vanessa Kirby. I'm so glad that she landed this role. I've loved her in the Mission Impossible movies, and I just want more of her. So I think this could be a great role for her. Joseph Quinn, I've only seen him in Stranger Things as far as I know, but I really liked him in that, and I feel like he could really shine in this, depending on the type of a guy he plays. And then Ebom, if that's how you say his name, I need to work on that, but I love him in The Bear. I love him so much. He's got a lot of heart. He knows how to turn on the crazy, emotional, aggressive version, but also like the heartwarming that really hit me down in my core persona. And so, yeah, it's a stellar cast. I'm just intrigued on how they're gonna play their roles.
I need to watch The Bear.
You need to watch The Bear.
I haven't seen
The Bear. Gotta watch
yet.
The Bear. Oh, Alan, it kills me.
The first season is jarring because it's like high octane. You can't stop to breathe. It gives itself a little time to breathe in the second season, and there's a whole episode dedicated to E-Bomb. And at first I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this episode. Then by the end of it, I'm like, this is like the best episode in the show. It's so damn good. So, yeah, he shines in that show.
X-Men 92, The Bear. I don't know which one to go with tonight.
Really hard.
Yep.
Devin, what are your thoughts on the Fantastic Four cast?
Oh, I love the cast. I mean, I am not sick of Pedro Pascal yet. I don't think that I'm oversaturated from him. I think I will take more of him. I think that I've seen him in enough diverse roles too that like this isn't like Jason Statham playing Mr. Fantastic. Like if it was that, I'd be a little bit more worried, but I feel like Pedro's got a little bit more range. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? And then this ends up being another bad version of Fantastic Four. But on our podcast, Alan had mentioned something that I'm really sticking with that makes me a little bit more optimistic, which you mentioned that this might be them stuck in the 60s and then kind of brought forward, or they might have been like stuck between now and the 60s. And I really like that idea.
Yeah, given the style of this Valentine's Day card that we got, it does seem like there's a 60s element at play here. And it's directed by Matt Shakman, who did WandaVision. So given the style of this poster and his history with different eras on WandaVision, I feel like something, we're still in the multiverse saga. So I feel like either there's got to be some time travel shenanigans going on here. So
yeah, do you think it's going to be a Captain America 1 type scenario where it starts off in the one time and then ends up in modern time by the end?
Possibly. I think it might be more interesting to do like halfway through they end up in modern day and have to adjust and panic, like see what that would be.
Where like they have to
Um,
adjust, but they're also not best boy like Steve Rogers was.
yeah,
I think that would be fun.
we'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
Hmm.
I'm excited for this cast. Um,
It was a cool poster for
yeah,
Valentine's Day.
Hmm.
I thought that was at first I thought it was really cool fan art. But then I saw that Marvel's Studios proper posted it, and I was like, wow, it's not a fan account. I really had to like triple check, but yeah, it's kind of cool.
yeah, I'm surprised, and it's coming out next year, so they're really getting they're speeding things up with this pretty fast. So I think they're
Mm-hmm.
taking a full advantage of a lot of things being in post production and being able to breathe a little bit and like let's get things going production wise. Get
Yeah.
that engine moving while the post production stuff is going. Um,
As with every incarnation we've seen, I am most intrigued about how their powers will look, and the Fan Four Stick, as not great of a movie as that was, there were elements that I really liked. I liked the body horror element of it initially when they were discovering their powers. But it's gonna be interesting how they do the thing because I think Marvel has really honed in on how they do the Hulk, and that took several incarnations and movies to develop and perfect over time.
yeah,
And we've gotten a few different versions of the thing that's kind of a mix between practical and overdone CGI, and yeah, I really am interested about how they're gonna showcase some of these powers. And then same way with Vanessa Kirby's character, like, is it just gonna be completely, she's just off screen and dubbing her stuff, like like they did with a lot of Jessica Alba's
Hmm.
spots, or is it gonna be more of a transparent or translucent type thing, or what? I'll be interested to see how it's portrayed visually, but I'm intrigued.
yeah. All right, I think we've gone on for almost half an hour not talking about it. I think we got to
Oh,
pull off the band-aid and talk about
Delay
today's
the inevitable.
main topic, which is Sony Marvel's latest entry into their Sony universe of Marvel characters, but in a different universe for some reason. Madam Web starring Dakota Johnson. Um, this is the first of 3 Sony Marvel films coming out this year. The internet has been ablaze about this movie since for the last few weeks now. Um, we all saw it, so you don't have to. If you did, I'm sorry. Um, Devin, you're our guest. You get the honors of telling us what you thought, like spoiler free. What were your
spoiler free.
general thoughts of Madam Web?
You know what? My expectations were met. I went into this movie going, you know what? It's probably not going to be a great movie, but at no point will any character ever say, "I'm coming out of the Eddie closet." So you know what? It might be better than that. And you know what? It was. Were there parts I absolutely hated? 100%. Were there parts I thought were just fine? Yeah. Did I think there were some good ideas in here? Absolutely. I don't like this movie though. I just don't. But it was better than some dumpster fires I've seen.
Josh, what did you think of Madam Web?
Um, I like Dakota Johnson. I think she's great. I think she did pretty well on SNL a week or two back. So I'll see any comic book movie. I remember when comic book movies were a rare thing. I know there's a lot to say about oversaturation of comic book movies and whatnot, but I remember when they were few and far between. So I will literally see any comic book movie. And now that I live a block and a half away from a theater and it's a cheap theater, yeah, like I'll go. So I went, and I'll watch anything that's on TV that's superhero related. For example, do you remember the I think it was '90s or early 2000s Birds of Prey show that was on
Yeah.
Yep.
the CW? Mm-hmm. Remember how bad that was?
Yeah.
Uh, this was that. This was that on the big screen. Like, it felt like they were trying to mimic the aesthetic of that, the budget of that, the writing quality of that. It felt like I was transported back in time and watching that. And I remember as a kid knowing that that was bad. Like, I was gonna watch it, especially since I knew that Mark Hamill was playing a version of the Joker in that show. I knew it was bad back then, but I was like, but this is what I got, you know? And so here I was in February. Wasn't in January, I'll give it that, but it was February, and this is what I had to watch for superhero stuff in the theater. So I went to see it, and it was bad. It was bad, and I'm just surprised. Like, I don't know how involved Amy Pascal was in this, but I feel like it's just this thing. Like, they will knock it out of the park with the Spider Across the Spider Verse and Into the Spider Verse animated films. They will put out a film with Marvel with Tom Holland that just brings back all the nostalgia of the previous Spider-Man. They continue to tease us with, oh, they got it, and then they give us a crappy one, and then, oh, they're back, and then they give us a crappy one. And I remember all the rumors that they were talking about of the different spin-off films back when Andrew Garfield still had the reins, and it felt like they were just like, we need to do that now, but with the quality of the Birds of Prey CW show. And if that was their goal, they succeeded.
I had such low expectations for this, given having just seen Aquaman 2, which is a different universe, different studio, different universe.
Mm-hmm.
Having seen the last Sony Universe movie, which was Morbius, it was better than I expected, but it still wasn't good. Um, there's a lot there are things that work in this, and the film doesn't play with those too much. I think there are some of the casting in this is very well done. Um, I find it weird that Adam Scott is stuck playing characters named Ben a lot.
It's distracting, honestly.
But I think there are some very bizarre choices with this film that confuse me, and reading up on some things on the internet about it make me go, oh, well, that makes sense then. But then the director's like, oh, no, that was never the case. I'm like, okay, well, then why did you make these choices?
Oh, I have questions.
Yeah.
You've done way more research than I have then.
I've, so my wife,
So
yeah, my wife was playing devil's advocate when I said I had to go see this. She's like, it doesn't look that bad. And then I got home from seeing it, and I played her this TikTok that was, here's a bunch of things that happened in Madam Web and one lie. And I played the TikTok for her, and it's all these different things. And at the end of the video, the guy is like, yep, you guessed it. All of that actually happened. And she's like, no way. Like, really? Like a Pepsi sign? So it's, there are things that work in this. And I have a theory on why they did some things in this for later stuff, but it's I have a hard time deciding if I would watch this before I watch Morbius again.
Ooh.
interesting.
Yeah.
I would watch Morbius before this. I was tempted to go back and watch Morbius this weekend just to like cleanse my palate. Like, this is how B Marvel movies are supposed to be,
Well, and that's the thing. Like this, like we're talking a lot about the Fox Marvel universe and the Fantastic Four. Like, this feels like it's from that era. Like, it makes no sense that the quality of this is so different from even the worst. Even the worst Marvel MCU movies, like say what you will about the Eternals or the Marvels, like they at least have like, you understand the intention that they were going for with those movies and what their goal was. I don't know what the goal is here. Because if this is the Sony universe of Marvel characters, that's great. This is setting up something for whatever they're doing with the Venom films or Morbius or Craven. But then they come out and say, oh yeah, this is in a whole nother universe. Then why? Why does this movie exist? They did. This is a whole separate universe from anything else because why not?
What?
So before,
Because I thought that was it.
We'll dive into it then because I have done a lot of research with this. Let's go ahead and give this our rankings of brilliant or lazy.
You've done more research than the writers of this movie. I'll give you that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I watched the animated 90s show where Madam Web shows up, and guess what? She didn't look like Dakota Johnson.
Oh, she was older in that.
Yeah.
This is a origin story.
I'm going to go with lazy. Like, obviously, like, it's lazy.
I feel like lazy is too kind. I don't know. Like, lazy. Yeah, definitely lazy. Super lazy.
100% lazy for me.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I know you loved this.
All right. I'm heartbroken.
Controversial.
And you know, the best thing to come out of this movie was Dakota Johnson's press tour, because she just did not care. Like, I read somewhere that as soon as the trailer for this came out, she fired her agents, and the press tour, it just feels like she was there to fulfill her contract. At one point, they're asking her.
Made it very apparent that this was not the movie she signed up for. Like, she's voiced a lot of stuff about that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Massive changes after she signed on to the script.
One of those changes being that the film supposedly was going to take place in the 90s and then got moved to 2003. So they could.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Why?
The aesthetic was just weird. Like this isn't a major. I know we're probably going to talk about spoilers here in a second. This isn't a major spoiler or anything like that. But the three girls in their 20s that were supposed to be teenagers, it was like, how can we make them look like teenagers? Let's give them all midriffs and then dress them up like stereotypical girl background dancers in a 90s Britney Spears music video.
Mm-hmm.
That was their whole, all their outfits, and everybody was kind of dressed like the 90s or early 2000s, and I really didn't get. I get that, like, they don't say his name, but there is a Spider-Man character that's born in this that maybe was the purpose of the timeline, but otherwise I really didn't understand the timeline purpose of this.
So, from what I understand originally, the birth of Peter Parker, which they don't ever say his name.
No, they don't.
I saw this with somebody
who own the rights to it. It's like that they didn't own the rights. They do.
I saw this with someone who didn't really know much about the movie going in and didn't pick up that was Ben Parker, Uncle Ben, and that was Peter Parker's mom. And their mind was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Why didn't I think of that? So originally, this was going to set up the Spider-Man for the Sony universe of Marvel characters. So you have that Spider-Man born in 2003. So then when you get to modern day with the Venom films and Morbius, you have a Spider-Man who's in his early 20s.
That would make sense. That would make sense for that timeline. Choice.
Yes. So supposedly the movie underwent reshoots and rewrites and got rid of that because it wasn't good. Originally, it was going to set up, I think the 90s, like the 90s aspect was going to set up, it was going to be Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and then they had to change that. So the timeline doesn't work for Tom Holland either at this point. So it's very bizarre to see why they why they did that, and I'm sure we'll never actually know the truth. until like the expose comes out, like the big book that they just did for the MCU about all of the Sony Marvel stuff, which I cannot wait to read when they do that, because it's going to be fascinating all the way back to like James Cameron's Spider-Man in the 90s.
Yeah. Just do
But
it.
but like the 2003 aspect of it, like what's bizarre to me is the music choice. Like spoilers, like why does this end with the Cranberries' Dream? Like that made no sense for the credits at all.
No. I think they were just hoping that you would stick around and listen to it because there's no mid or in credits scenes. So like they were just like, let's give them a good song to like be like, oh yeah, this is a good song, and maybe forget about the film you just watched. But yeah, I couldn't even stick around for that. I was tempted to because I liked the song, but you know.
I read one little piece about how this doesn't fit, and this isn't spoilers either, but at one point they played Britney Spears' Toxic. It wasn't released as a single until 2004 anyway. So they didn't even stick to the like music release timeline well.
Yeah, no,
I love.
That's like spoilers. Argyle just made it a point to have a Beatles song that recently released as the main character's song for years, but it literally just came out. So that doesn't make any sense. If you're gonna spend the money to have certain songs in your movie, at least make sure they make sense. Like, otherwise, what's the point?
Okay.
So I have to ask a time and place thing.
Like,
I am officially, this might be me, I'm officially sick of people going, remember Blockbuster? You remember it? I think I'm officially done with it. And it was in like shot one of this movie. I get it. Yeah. It's 2003. Stop.
So I want to list off all of the songs that came out that played in this movie.
Okay.
Miles Away by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, which I'm not sure when the time period for that is, but I know the Yeah Yeah Yeahs were on the Spider-Man 3 soundtrack, so that at least kind of checks out timeline wise. Breakfast at Tiffany's by Deep Blue Something, 90s. What's Up for Non-Blondes, 90s. Bitch by Meredith Brooks, 90s. I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany, 80s, but still not 2003. And then Dreams by the Cranberries. Like, I and looking at this, like, I don't even think the score is from the 2000, like, present day, because it has Final Confrontation from I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like, did they just take the final fight score from I Know What You Did Last Summer and put it at the Pepsi sign? Because if they did, props. Like, I'm impressed by that.
I mean, that's a better movie than this. Like, I loved I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I did too.
Watch that. And that's another franchise they're bringing back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Are we in spoilers talk? Are we officially in?
We can.
I mean, I can give one more thing that's not spoiler talk.
Okay.
Tahar Rahim plays Ezekiel Sims. Before we even talk about his costume and everything, I wondered, like 95% of his lines are dubbed.
Thank you. Yes.
It doesn't matter if the camera is on his face or if it's conveniently panning away from him. It doesn't look like the things we hear are the things he's saying. Like, I don't know if it's English is not a primary language for him or something, but it was getting ridiculous how much dubbing was just around his character. I don't understand the choice for that.
But, like, was it my theater or was it your guys' too, where, like, the mix for him was also really bad? Where, like, everyone felt like they were in a room and he felt like he was, like standing in a megaphone or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his lips never seemed to match.
It was distracting.
Were off camera or it was weird. Like, I wondered what the point of that was.
From a production standpoint, if this movie went through as many rewrites as it sounds like it did, I guarantee that was to fix plot holes, and they changed a lot of his motivation. Because his motivation is, I'm going to die in the future because of these three girls.
Mm-hmm.
I need to kill these girls before they kill me. Which...
But But that's also like half his motivation. There's
Yeah.
another motivation that shows up in the first second. I guess this isn't spoilers. Can I spoil the first like minute of the movie?
Yeah.
He really wants the spider that they're after in the Peruvian Amazon. Why does he want the spider? All we get is I've been waiting years for this.
It's because he wants to have the powers like the spider
Yeah, I
people.
mean that's the same reason why the mom was there. Like they both went down under the assumption that that spider could give you, properties of some
Okay.
kind, and he wanted it more than her. I don't understand why they couldn't just capture two. But yeah, that's getting a little more spoilers. But his casting choice, and I looked him up to see what other things he's in. He was apparently in Napoleon, and I don't remember him in Napoleon, or at least I don't remember his specific role. Or I do remember him in Napoleon, but I can't remember his lines. But it was just weird. Like I was like, did they just? Maybe it was that much changing in the story, but it was almost 95, maybe more percent of his lines were dubbed, and noticeably dubbed.
Yeah.
It took me out every time he talked. It took me out. And then other things with the editing, he'd be in costume in one frame, and the next frame his the mask would be off or something. You could tell this movie was heavily edited.
Yeah.
For reasons beyond me. Like I don't put this film at the feet of the director, because clearly she's a proficient director. She's been on she's directed episodes for Succession and a lot of different other shows. She did The Defenders, she did Jessica Jones. She was not involved in the story of this. She just directed it. And so I don't put this at her feet, because none of this is all of my gripes are editing and story based, honestly. So it's not on her, but
I'm trying to find
the 5+ people that wrote this thing.
I'm trying to find the number, but I saw a post and I should have screenshotted it so I had it now. The director talked about how many edits are in the film, like how many cuts, and it's a ridiculous amount of cuts in edits that I'm gonna have to try to find the number, but for an editing standpoint, even the most edited films don't have that many. Like fight scenes in Marvel movies get a lot of flack for as many cuts as they had. This had 3 times that at least.
Wow.
So
do you think that's all on the editor? Because I even looked up the cinematographer, because there was just so many camera transitions that was just giving me a headache, and so many, Twilight grade camera movements and character movements and stuff. And I looked at the cinematographer and or the director of photography, and they've got a stellar background. I mean, dude's huge winner. He's done work for Avatar, Training Day, and The Kingdom, and Spider-Man No Way Home. So I don't want to put this at his feet either, but like the camera work and the transitions were just jarring and giving me a headache. It didn't help.
I think if I had to guess, I think a lot of the reason there's so many problems with this movie is because they had to reshoot it. Like if you're going to rewrite the movie in post-production, one of the ways to do that is in editing. So if you need to cover up a lot of your stuff, you can use edits. One of the things that people are putting out online is they pull footage from Spider-Man 2 and put it into this. There's a shot when Peter Parker takes off and starts swinging. There's a shot of a building going up. It's a brick building, and it's a shot at the end of the movie before you see all the Spider-Women. Like it's the same building, same camera movement. And like that's not a huge deal, but it shows me that they had to they're getting footage reused from a property in the movie is not the end of the world. Michael Bay does it all the time. But like I think they tried to fix this movie in post and it just didn't work. And I think they tried as best as they could.
Well, I mean, people like to give DC shit for canning Batgirl, but They listed TV quality and poor TV quality as one of the primary reasons for canning that movie, and I feel like that is more than proficient way to describe this film. This should have been canned. I feel like they would have probably made more money if they wrote this off than releasing it.
Well, I think the reason they didn't has to do, and this is the best argument I've seen for why this movie came out, is contractually, for them to keep the rights to Spider-Man at Sony, they have to release a movie a year.
Wow.
And they already have
two movies.
They do.
And wouldn't this hurt those? I feel like, because we still got to talk about those, but we still have a lot of this movie to talk about. We haven't even dove into spoilers, but I feel like if this is how the Sony Spider Universe year is starting, are people not going to think about this movie when they consider buying tickets for the next one?
I think if they wanted to use any of these characters going forward, they had to use them in this. So if they want to keep Madam Web or any of these Spider Women, they had to use them. So I'm wondering if that's the case, because I don't know the details of the Sony Marvel deal, but I'm assuming at a certain point these characters who have never appeared on screen before might have reverted back. So I wonder if they made this movie in an attempt to keep those rights a little bit longer, so Marvel doesn't try to buy them back, because I'm sure whatever deal they signed in the 90s to get those characters has its limits.
I'm sure.
Let's get into spoilers.
Please.
All right, spoilers. Please. Spoiler alert is up. So who wants to start off with spoilers?
Let's just talk about the beginning, the very beginning, the opening sequence scene. It gives you a tone, expectation for this film. Between the clearly they're not in Peru scenes to the spider people, the weird spider people. The jarring camera work for them climbing down the trees in a weird way that's more lizard-like than spider-like. The let's pick up the dying woman and run through the trees like we're Edward from the Twilight series. It was very like setting you up, like this is the movie you walked into and you're gonna be stuck here for a good, however long it was. And I mean, if that was the goal of the opening scene, that's I took that away from. Yep, I know what I'm here for. It was bad. It was that. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. It was bad.
You guys know more about this than I do. Are the spider people like canon to Spider-Man lore, like the Peruvian spider?
Nope.
Okay, so this blows my mind. Then, so there are Peruvian spider people that have all of the same powers as Spider-Man that we know, who's supposed to, at least in my mind, be kind of a one-of-a-kind person. Already have his powers, with the exception of the web fluid, which I'm assuming he makes himself. Already basically have his suit. So does this now cheapen what Peter Parker is going to be doing later for you guys?
The whole thing. Like, thank God they did the last, like, it doesn't help this film, but the fact that they did this is an alternate universe is the only saving grace, because if they apparently went with their original timeline, and the whole inspiration for the iconic Spider-Man suit is that it's not only based off these Peruvian spider people, but also a murderer who apparently walked around murdering people in broad daylight 20 years before Spider-Man, came out. Like, did they not think that somebody would be like, why do you look like that murderer that was killing a bunch of people 20 years ago?
Here's the thing, though. No one saw the murderer because everyone thought Dakota Johnson did it. Like, everyone thought it was Madam Web. Like, no one saw the spider guy.
Ready. Like, they were ready to... What were they initially trying to arrest her for? Like,
I don't know.
Like, jumping trains? Was that what they were trying? Because it was sudden. Like, they were like 4 cops on her.
They're on a different platform 2 minutes later, and the cop's like, "Oh nope, you're under arrest." Like, there's no way even like the kidnapping thing
Partially under
would.
arrest.
Yeah,
Weird.
it
And this is
was.
New York. You would think somebody would be like, 4 women are running from somebody. Maybe we should give them a slight benefit of the doubt and not just assume that they're just, let's just arrest the main one, the older looking one. I mean, yeah, it was weird. It was a weird choice.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the bad guy.
Yeah.
He's got.
Oh
He
man.
kills everybody in the.
Can I ask you guys
ahead.
a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he look like he aged at all in 30 years from like the opening scene to?
No.
Okay, but like
No.
10 years. But 10 years later, he ages like 40 years.
Yes.
Like in the future, like
he looks like Albert Einstein hair. In his. Yeah, that was a jarring thing because at first I was like, the spider venom is like keeping him young, but then he's like gray afro in 10 years. It's weird.
Did he spend those 10 years on Tatooine? Did we know that? Because that's what it does to people.
Possibly.
So he kills everybody in the beginning to get this spider, and again, all I could think of was just like, get another spider, my guy. Like,
so
more than one.
From my understanding was like no one could find this one spider because it hides so often. And the spider people, from the looks of it, the spider people have a bunch of them like underground in their caves with a box of scraps. Mm-hmm. So I think that was like finding one in the wild is what did it for like is why it was so special that she found one, because they're very hard to find in the wild. Because the spider people have them all.
Well, he kills them, and then, Tony Stark lives his life in the city with this massive spider enclosure, and his whole deal is he has a reoccurring nightmare that 3 women in spider suits are there to kill him, and he doesn't want to die. And initially I was like, okay, so are they also the bad guys? Like, are we supposed to believe that they are, like, we get that he's a bad guy, but then we watch them kill him. So, like, are we supposed to think that they're also bad guys? Because I wasn't really hitting the hero vibe on them either. Like, just felt like there were 3 costume people that were killing a dude in his pajamas. Like...
It reminded me of like if CW produced The Watchmen, like it reminded me of that bit where like, oh, maybe these aren't the good guys either. Maybe there's some weird moral gray stuff going on. And I was actually kind of on board at that point. I'm like, okay, tell me what these morally gray Spider Women are doing now.
Yeah, give me a little of them, but we get none of that. Do you want to see? For all the fuckboys out there that were so into Sydney Sweeney's costume, you get it all in the trailer. That's as much as you're gonna get. Like there's nothing more in the movie.
So
that's it.
Evidently, this is the big thing that changed in the script. This is there's not much. You know how weird it is when a movie like this doesn't have much on its trivia page on IMDb. This is the first entry. According to Dakota Johnson in an interview with The Wrap, the screenplay underwent extensive rewrites to the point where it no longer resembled the film that she signed on for. We talked about that already. The original screenplay was described as very dark, as darker and very Terminator inspired, and would have seen Madam Web and the Spider Women trying to protect a pregnant Mary Parker from Ezekiel Sims who wants to kill her to prevent the birth of Peter Parker.
See, that sounds like a still bad movie, but much more entertaining movie than what we got. I would have wanted to know why. Why does he want to kill Peter Parker? Maybe not give him such a just different color Spider-Man suit ripoff. Like, give him a different suit. It's not that hard, but like, I would have been interested in that. I mean, the Terminator thing has been done a million times over, but like, that would have been interesting. It would have also been interesting if one of these people who could see into the future gave us an inkling as to how these three girls got their powers
Yeah.
within the next 10 years. We have two clairvoyants in the film, and not one of them talks about that. It's
You
weird.
know, I don't need to know how they get their powers. Um, in the movie that they present us, I think it would be great to see, like even in a montage at the end, like a montage of them each getting their powers.
Sure.
Like that would work for me. I don't need to deep dive into all these Spider Women. I because I don't know these characters, so I think there's the stories that could be told there, and I wish we had gotten a bit more of them, but the casting and like de-aging of them, like they're definitely not teenagers in this, and they don't look out of place in the costumes that they have in the future. So I wonder if their plan was to like introduce them into the Spider-Verse films later on and like
It
have
almost
them.
felt like a reverse event or a reverse or like a Justice League thing, right? We're going to show you them all working together, and then they're each going to get their own movie to explain their thing, and then we're gonna tie it together later somehow.
Yeah.
But I mean, it really did feel like Birds of Prey, like
Yeah.
to the point where the end, her new layer is almost the exact same layer as what's her face had in Birds of Prey. She's got the window, she's got the chair.
I was gonna say I think it's the
weird
same wheelchair.
sunglasses. Yeah, she's got and the window, like she's got the webby,
Yeah.
weird looking window looking over the city. Like it felt like they just found that set and filmed it.
Here's my theory on this whole thing. I think Amy Pascal lost a bet to Kevin Feige. And I think he made her make this movie just so he could have those Spider Women to put in Secret Wars.
I would never touch any of these characters again. Like, I mean,
So here's the thing though, like the three Spider Women, like I could watch a whole movie of just them. I don't need the Madam Web stuff. Like I enjoyed their aspect of it, like them coming together, not like having the different backgrounds. If it had been a movie of them like learning to lose their powers and not just learning how to do CPR, it would have been a lot better for me than what it is. But like they work in it. Like they're not the problem with this movie. It's what the movie does with them that's the problem. Like it. Their costumes look good. They have an interesting enough power set that we don't get to see in these Spider-Man films, Sony Spider-Verse films. Like these characters could work. They just don't work in this.
Well, I kind of had that with Madam Web herself, though. So I like Madam Web. So there's a couple of times I think they do Madam Web's powers really well. Kind of case in point is when they're on top of the fireworks thing, or the exploding fireworks warehouse, which, okay. And you can watch her get visions of where the fireworks are going to be, and you see her Captain America-ing the fireworks away from the group. Yeah. I think that's very cool, and I love that. Where I hate her powers is when she goes, I have a vision. Then they spell out the end of the movie, and then you have to watch what you just saw happen. I hate that. Yeah. And like I feel like a lot of the movie misuses her powers like that. But there are very cool powers.
I also thought that it took her too long to try to do something about it. Like she had way too many visions before she decided, let's open the window. You know, like just you could have had a couple less, or at least they just kept on going. Like the one right before Michael Epps died. The paramedic thing, it just kept repeating, and I'm like, I get it. We all get it. We get that she doesn't get it yet, but we don't have to see it a fourth time. And then finally she opens the window and starts testing things. This was a similar critique that I had of a much, much, much better film was X-Men First Class. We get that this is not the Madam Web from, or at least not the age of Madam Web from our previous encounters. But that doesn't mean she needs to be in a wheelchair with weird glasses by the end of this film. She can be young and be walking and not, it was like, like, oh, we need to have a shaved head, paralyzed,
Xavier.
looking older
Yeah.
Professor X by the end of the film, and we didn't, and then they kind of retcon that in the later films. They put that off a little bit. She looked dumb. She looked dumb in whatever type of chair she was in. I don't know what type of chair that was. It didn't look futuristic. It didn't look old. It was just looked weird.
Can you explain to me how she lost her vision and how she's paralyzed now?
She fell from a height and she got hit in the face by a
Firework, right?
Okay.
firework, didn't she?
Yeah, but like, is that
No.
it? Not is that it?
Water-
But like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay.
It didn't break her the first time.
y-
Broke her the second time. I guess.
those spiders, they get 2 lives.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it was just so dark. Like, I was like, okay, she got hit with something, but where did she get hit in the water? Like, it was hard for me to see, at
It
least in
looked
my
like she hit
theater.
her shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these fireworks can apparently, blast door-sized holes into brick walls. So,
Those New York State
clearly-
fireworks, man. Like, it's insane.
you
It-
clearly take out your eyes. with
It
water.
wasn't the fireworks. It was the Pepsi that they went off by.
Yeah. Yeah.
Josh,
I've been to that sign.
I was going to say, I have a
and
request. When
Yeah.
we're in New York for Comic-Con next time, we need to go to the Madam Web's Pepsi sign.
Yeah. Well, I went to that in October. My you've met Kevin,
Yes.
and Steven, and they
Friend of
moved
the
over
show.
to the Bronx, and they're very they got a very nice boardwalk in front, and they moved the Pepsi sign over to that boardwalk, and so it's it's gorgeous. It's in this little park now, and I took some pictures in front of it. It's not on some shady firework, and also if a crime had happened a few days before, would they leave all those fireworks there? Like, I was also surprised that
It's
she's
like
just
2
let's
weeks.
go back to this crime scene a week later or something.
Yeah.
Is it 2 weeks? Yeah, she does
It's
go
something-
down to Peru.
Yeah.
okay, hold on. This was one thing I was confused about. Why did she go to Peru? I mean, like, from the second the movie started, I'm like, she's gonna go back to Peru. At what time is she going to?
Yeah, because
But
they
like,
tell you that.
But like, what on earth is like? Did she expect to find 30 years later in Peru that like would have made any material difference unless like exactly what happened? But like, what was her expectation of that trip?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay, because
What did she learn in her trip?
with great responsibility comes great power.
She learned. So this is the one thing that bothered me about her character is like, you get the fact that she doesn't like kids and doesn't like family connections and all of that. They don't really dive into it much beyond. She was in the foster system. They don't really deal with her hating her mother until she goes back to Peru. She's like, I've hated you this whole time, but I never knew the truth that you did all this to save me because now I'm not sick. And I'm like, okay, I didn't get any, like, I didn't know she hated her mother. Her mother died in childbirth. Like,
Okay, can I say one thing on that point
Yeah.
though? It's okay if you don't want kids. It's okay if you're a little like feel uncomfortable at a baby shower. But what bitch puts a blank a thing into the game just to into the game of your favorite memory of your mother just to be like, my mom died, so blank. Like,
Just don't
what
play.
the fuck?
yeah.
Well, like, she made a couple of decisions in the beginning of the movie that I'm like, I don't like her. Like, I get that she's supposed to be prickly. I don't like her.
Yeah, I did not like her for that. I
No.
just don't put anything in there. Like, it's not that hard. They're clearly not your friends. They don't know this, but that was a bitch move. I did not like that. It was weird.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like, if you're gonna play the game, play the game. Like,
Some people just don't. Like,
yeah. But yeah, it was like her motive, like the whole reveal about her mother being like doing it to protect her from being sick, like made no sense to me. because it just felt out of left field. And there's a lot of things out of left field, but that was one of the more jarring things in this film for me was like,
Yeah.
oh, she's hated her mother this whole time. Like I get being a foster kid and like your mother dying in childbirth, but they don't really explore that she's angry at her mom at all. It's just like, yeah, I'm just this person because this was my life.
And does she not know that she was supposed to be like super ill
She
and
didn't
like
know.
No.
she did not know, like
She did
no
not know
doctor,
that.
because clearly these spider people knew enough to get her home. Like she's not raised in Peru, which would have been more interesting, I think. But
Hmm.
somehow she ended up in her hometown with her family. So would she not have access to her medical history, or some
She
doctor not
didn't.
eventually tell her or her family that, yeah, you were supposed to be a lot
She
different?
didn't go back to
Something
her
happened.
family. Somehow she went from Peru to the New York City foster care system.
Oh wait, that's right. She's not with her. Yeah, so how'd she end
But
up there specifically?
Spider-Man movies got to be in New York, unless you're
But she's got her
unless you're
name,
Venom.
like she knows who she is and who her mom is. So it's not like she was an anonymous baby dropped off in New York. Like,
At
did they
at
just?
at what point do we say we're overthinking Madam Web too
Listen,
much?
listen.
Yes,
I don't
yeah.
expect a non-New Yorker to know this, but there's actually a really big cluster in the South Bronx of Peruvian Amazonian spider people. It's just as specifically where they hang out. It's their area. I don't expect you to not know that, but that's where they hang out. That's why she went back.
Yeah, makes sense.
They've
Makes
they've
sense.
they've got they've got their own little bar.
They do.
Whoever took her back, clearly went back to Peru and was like, guys, we got to stop dressing up in this weird spider gear. We need to start wearing normal clothes. So when this child visits us in 20 years, we just look like normal people,
They,
because,
they opened up with J.
the
Crew.
centuries of us dressing in this weird spider get up, it's not going to look good when she comes back to see us.
Yeah.
They made fashion choices based on returning her.
Do you know what the movie I
I'm
want to see is? I want to see Peruvian spider people take New York. Like they go to New York to drop this baby off and like discover like eco-friendly cotton button-downs,
Yes.
and like that's how
Can
that's like
bring
what
this home.
changes them. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, okay, so hold on. We brought it up quick, or I brought it up quick. What did you guys think of the "with great power comes great responsibility" line in this one? They did it, guys.
It's like half the
Wait,
line
wait.
though.
It's like half the line, and it's in Yoda speak, like it's backwards, and
But
I
it
can't
doesn't
remember
mean the same thing anymore. Like if you
No, it
say it
doesn't.
in that way, it means that you're just destined to be responsible and have power. Like it doesn't mean the same thing anymore.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It was supposed to be a
Yeah.
you see type thing, and
When you take on the responsibility, great power will come. For those of you who did not go see Madam Web.
Yeah.
So, given what I know about Madam Web as a character, knowing her as like I'm going to jump between Spider Verses and guide Spider Man, like that's the responsibility. And then like once she accepts that, like learning to like hone her powers, I kind of get it doesn't work in this because
No.
that's not what this character is at all. But
And again, if they had changed this to be less of an origin story for the Sony Spider-Man and more of a alternate universe thing, then especially with all the alternate universe things we've been getting from Sony lately, I'm surprised that wasn't something. Like, instead of that, we got an astral plane power versus an alternate, like her powers are only in this timeline. There's no tease of alternate universes. There's no, like, I've seen you in another world and you have powers, or I've seen a Spider-Man and that's why I molded my murder suit to kind of look like that Spider-Man, but it was from a different universe. There's no hint to that, so it just felt weird. And yeah, I never got the sense that this Madam Web would become that universe hopping Madam Web. Instead, it's astral
Yeah.
plane um, time travel powers. So
I mean, there's nothing saying
Weird
that the
choice.
astral plane can't go through dimensions, but
you could have teased it. You could have
yeah.
teased all the wacky stuff when she was out of body, which I mean, it was just like, what can we take from Black Panther? What can we take from Doctor Strange?
Mhm.
They could have hinted towards it in one of those montages a little bit, but they didn't. But yeah, it's just a lot of weird choices in this, man. A lot of weird choices. And it doesn't give me hope. So what are the other two? We've got Craven coming. What's the other one? I'm blanking on the other one we got
Venom
coming this
3.
year.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Oh no. Hold on, I didn't know this. Where do you guys sit on Venom? Like, are you guys like Venom fans or
Nope.
no? Okay.
I compared to the other Sony
Better than
Spider,
this,
better than they're
but
better than the other stuff that they've done. Interestingly enough, this is the only one not produced by Avi Arad, who has been with the Spider-Man universe since the first Raimi movie, which is very bizarre that he's not producing this one. But no, we have Kraven the Hunter, which is scheduled to come out on August 30th of this year, and then Venom 3, which is set to come out in November. So what's weird is we had a trailer for Kraven the Hunter before we had a trailer for this, and it got pushed back.
Is there
So
a trailer for Craven?
yeah,
Does it look good?
it wasn't in front of this
Kraven?
movie, so I don't like.
Yeah, I'm surprised they
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Did they bury that trailer already?
It kind of.
might have.
It wasn't a good trailer, my guy. This
Yeah.
is and we've already kind of had this talk, or at least, well, I don't know how in depth me and you have had this talk, Alan. I know I've talked about it with Seth. How uh the Craven that we get in the Spider-Man 2 game
Mm-hmm.
is actually really good.
I
Like,
love that Craven. Love him.
yeah, it's really good. And the fact that it's connected to the same company that's going to give us Aaron Taylor Johnson's that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Craven. That looks significantly dumber and different, and I don't understand it. Like, clearly you know how to write an interesting Craven because you did it in the game. Uh, I know they're different people, and it's different parts of the company, but that's gotta feel weird for them to like release such a heavy Craven game and for it to be received pretty well, and then the Craven trailer is like, nope, it's not
Yeah.
going to benefit from that at all.
That's such a shame.
I'm trying to see what the
Yeah.
budget was for this.
Because it's a really good, like, it's a good, compelling version of Craven that I think is a really good character arc throughout the entirety of that game. And if they're not going that direction with Craven, are they just like, hey, it's a dude that likes to hunt. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I can't even remember the trailer other than like he's like an animal whisperer, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like something along
Oh,
those
he's like
lines.
Aquaman, but for animals.
It's the same. I'll say that I have the same standpoint with the Spider-Man villain films as I do with the Batman villain films, like Joker. At a certain point, the character's not as interesting to me without that dynamic of the
Yeah.
hero villain thing, because Craven's whole thing is him hunting Spider-Man, and
Mm.
like who's he going to be hunting in this? Russell Crowe, Ariana DeBois, like who is he hunting in this? They're both in this movie, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were just naming people.
No.
Like, I thought the Russell
No.
Crowe was a fun pull.
Yeah.
No, Russell Crowe
no.
plays his dad.
Yep.
From Krypton, right?
No, from Olympus. But if I had a nickel for every time Russell Crowe played a superhero comic book character's dad, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened 3 times.
We're gonna have to when that comes out. We're gonna have to rank. We're gonna have to rank the Russell Crowe
Yes.
ads. Yes.
Man, Russell Crowe must be
I
pissed.
know what's gonna win, but
He must be pissed that he's not in Gladiator 2, but he was in Kraven the Hunter.
Craven the Hunter. Yeah.
Similar movies. Don't worry.
Yeah.
About it.
I don't know,
Oh.
man. What?
Evidently, Chameleon's in Kraven the Hunter too.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
they got to pull in all the Sinister Six, right? Like that's
Yeah.
what they're doing is Sinister Six, and then they're gonna get Spider-Man. You're not gonna care about him because you don't know him.
But he definitely looks like anti-hero in that film, and just like they were trying to make Morbius an anti-hero, and it's just I don't get it, man. Like I would think, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want to talk too much about Craven because I don't know enough about
Yeah.
the movie, but
Well,
this gives me no hope for that.
We'll be doing
So-
we'll touch back on this in October, or
Oh, man.
no, in August when this comes out. So
This is for I mean, this was an $80 million movie apparently according to Google. It's made 51 worldwide. I don't think it's going to reach its budget. I mean, it's slowing down hard. They released it on Valentine's Day for what reason I don't know. Maybe they were just like we've got a lead actress who came out with $1 billion movie that came out on a Valentine's Day, and maybe that'll trick some people into seeing it. But whoever got tricked into seeing this, I feel bad for you.
I feel like it's more the Deadpool came out on Valentine's Day, so they're trying to get that money. Like,
Oh, weird.
that's a superhero release date now because Ant-Man did it too.
There was a whole campaign around that of trick your girlfriends into seeing this movie. It's Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds. They had specific marketing campaigns towards that. This, I just feel like she was in 50 Shades. Maybe say, hey, remember that 50 Shades girl? She's got another Valentine's Day movie coming out. Let's go see her.
And now most people probably have to be tied and bound to watch this movie. So
Well done.
that's all I've got for Madam Web, guys. I got nothing else.
I can't think of anything. I'm
think-
sure I'm sure I could talk about this forever, but
Yeah.
I can't.
I'm
think
sorry.
of
I have
anything else
I have
right
one
now.
more specific thing.
Go for
this
it.
is something that's been
Okay.
on my mind since I heard it. I hate bad groan-inducing dialogue, and this movie does it 2 times back to back, and it makes me feel like at the end of the movie someone just should have checked to see if Madame Web was actually okay. So when she's sitting in the hospital bed, she's surrounded by the other spider women or whatever, and the nurse comes in and she goes, "Do you need anything?" She goes, "No. I have everything I need right here." Stop! I hate that line. But then the next line is she's in her wheelchair. In like the next time she says anything, she's in her wheelchair in the thing, and they go, "Hey, how are you?" And she goes, "I see clearer now than I ever have before." I'm like, answer someone's question for once. Stop this. Like that. The fact that those lines happened at all sucks. The fact that they were said back to back, just I like groaned in the theater. Sorry.
Wasn't
it was
in
my-
between there? The nurse was like, "This is for immediate family only," and they're like,
Yeah.
"It's like
Yeah.
they're all 3 mine or something like that."
That's
And it's
3
like,
lines in a row, guys.
So does she
Yeah, it's
adopt
weird.
them? Like what?
In her heart, they're connected to her
Is the-
web.
The blind, paralyzed paramedic who hates
Yeah.
everybody adopt the billionaire's daughter and the one girl who's what was the so one was a billionaire's daughter, another was like her dad got deported and she was
Yeah.
hiding in
Oh,
her
yeah.
apartment, and then the other one was like her dad was just a dick,
Yeah.
like and
Yeah.
didn't. That was her
remarried.
dad, right?
Yeah.
It was the mom that was
Yeah.
a stepmom, but the dad like hated her.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird backgrounds for all 3 of them.
Do you think that she was able to redo her whole apartment to get that loft because she sued the Pepsi company after their fireworks factory blew up on her?
Maybe.
Are we sure it's not
Why
all
not?
that newly adopted billionaire daughter money?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
like that's
Could be.
prime
could
real
be.
estate in New York with that kind of view out that kind of window.
Yeah.
That's not a
Yeah.
cheap place.
we're gonna make it a web, like your name. We're gonna make it a webby window, and we're gonna get you a weird looking chair that doesn't look like it's functional at all. And then we're gonna just hold the camera on you as you slowly back away from the camera in your chair. It's gonna look laughably bad, but it's supposed to look cool.
That's why
And
she had
you'll
to
have
do
to-
all,
Weird.
that's why she had to do all the stunt driving training was for the wheelchair scene.
Yeah.
She did do a lot of her stunt driving in this. So
Did she?
all of it actually. She trained how to drive a taxi cab and an ambulance for the crash scenes. You know, where she runs him over twice and he still doesn't die.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, that's our review of
Yeah.
Madam Web and the Sisterhood of the Midriffs, and it was not good. It was not good.
Oh man.
Not a fan. Sorry.
What Spider-Man movies would you watch before this again?
What Spider-Man movies
Yeah,
would
what
you not? Is a better
Spider-Verse?
question.
Okay. That's good.
I can't think of one. This is the worst. It's 2024, and
I
this
don't know.
is the worst.
This is on par. Morbius is pretty bad too. Like, I put it right up there with Morbius.
I
Well,
would watch a solo movie about Spider-Pig from the Simpsons movie. Like a whole
wouldn't?
3-hour epic about Spider-Pig before this one
I'm
again.
surprised Disney Plus hasn't given us that
They're
yet.
getting
Honestly,
there.
with Simpsons. Yeah. I want us to get together, Devin. I
Yeah.
want you back at the end of the year so we can review this year in Sony Spider-Verse and rank these films, because I have a feeling this is just the beginning, guys.
I want it, man. All right, I'm on board.
I mean, Venom has better production history behind it, and I still don't think that movie's coming out this year because I've heard nothing about it unless
They're
it's super
filming.
secret.
They're filming. It got delayed. They were filming before the strike started. The only thing I do know is that Juno Temple's in it, playing the villain. So
I've heard that. I have heard that. I'm not a fan of those films, but they're made significantly better than this one from a production standpoint, a writing standpoint. I don't like the stories in those films, but they're much better made than this. So if I'm going to give my prediction now, I think the Venom 3 is probably going to be the best produced film. This is going to be the worst, and Craven is going to be in the middle. And likely the same for story. I just feel like they're going to put more effort into Venom than either of these other two.
Yeah. No, I think
right.
it's a fair prediction. All right, Devin, where can people find you online?
So, best place to find me is at You Have to Watch This podcast. You can find that anywhere podcasts happen. So whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Pandora. We also have an Instagram, and follow us on our Facebook page. We go live every Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Wednesdays now.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, or 11 p.m. if you are in London with me.
Yeah. Josh, where can people find you?
They can find me. I'm out there.
Right.
Nerf Herders is on hiatus for now. My good buddy Seth moved out of state for work. He's rocking a new location right now and still kind of settling in there. In person, I'll be at Planet Comic-Con here in a couple weeks in Kansas City. I'll be coming out to Winchester for Horrific Film Festival. Horrific Hope Film Festival here in about a month or so. And then I got a couple other things in the works, all leading up to Alan and I's return to New York in October. So, yeah, Devin, you'll be around. We got more stuff that we're going to talk about in the near future that we'll be back on here for.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, Devin, you should come to New York. Come on, buddy.
I want to come to New York. I want to see the Pepsi sign now.
Just do it. We'll take a trip. We'll each dress up like one of the Spider Women. It'll be fantastic.
I would dress up like one of the Spider Women. I'd make a good Sydney Sweeney. This is audio only, right? They can't see me?
No, it's video.
Never mind.
All right. Well, until next time, for Brilliant But Lazy, I'm Alan.
I'm Josh. Devin, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And until next time, we're wishing you good mental health.